everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so today we are doing my June monthly wrap part number 2. In this one, I talk to you all about the books that I read in the second half of June. If you go back one video, you'll see part 1. Where I went through all the books that I read in the first half of June. I'm going to quickly summarize those books by giving you their title, author, age rating, genre, and star rating. But if you want to see more, go back to part 1 and check that out. Alright, before we do that, I'm going to put the stats up on the screen for my reading month of June. So let's do that right now. In the month of June, I read a total of 11 books comprising of 3 thrillers, 2 cozy mysteries, 2 dystopians, 2 LGBTIQ+ books, 1 contemporary, and 1 classic. To my age groups, I read 3 YA, 7 adult, and 1 middle grade books. To my lengths, and I read 3 3/4 tomes, 6 half tomes, and 2 novellas, totaling 3,530 pages. And to my star ratings, I don't think I have ever been this all over the shop ever. But anyway, good news is the month of June was dominated by 5 stars, but then every other possible star gets a nice little shout out in part 2 here. So here we go. My star ratings for the month are 6 5 stars, 1 4.5 star, 1 4 star, 1 3 star, 1 2 star, and yes, even 1 1 star. We'll get to that one, well, right now as we go through the summary. So, let's now jump over into the summary. I'm going to quickly summarize for you the first 6 books that I read in the month of June. As I said earlier, if you want more elaboration, check out part 1 for my June monthly wrap. But very, very quickly, the first 6 books, we'll talk about the first 6 months of this year. Actually, this month in July, so make sure to look out for that. All my favorites and non-favorites for the first half of the year. But the first 6 books that I read in the month of June were The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This is an adult thriller and I gave it 5 stars. Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, sorry. This is book 1 in the dystopian Uglies series. It is a YA dystopian and I gave it 3 stars. Rabbits by Terry Miles is an adult thriller, and it got the bonus recognition of being the first 1-star book from me for many, many years. Moving on. The next book that I read was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is an adult thriller, and I gave this book 5 stars. I then read Mums and Mayhem by Amanda Flower. This was the final book in the Magic Garden mystery series. It's an adult cozy mystery, and for that book I gave it 2 stars. And How to Elude a Vampire by Alice Winters, which is book number 2 in the vampire related crimes series. It is an adult LGBTIQ+ book, and I gave that book 5 stars. Now that you're all caught up with that summary and the stats, let's move on to see what I read in the second half of June 2023. So yes, the next book that I read for the month of June 2023 was this book, Matched by Ali Condi. This is book number 1 in the Matched dystopian series, and it is a YA dystopian, It's a YA dystopian, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. So the premise of this book is that in a society, officials decide who you love, where you work, when you die. Kesha has always trusted their choices. It's hardly any price to pay for a long life, the perfect job, the ideal mate. So when her best friend appears on the matching screen, Kesha knows with complete certainty that he is the one. Until she sees another face flash for an instant before the screen fades to black. Now Kesha is faced with impossible choices between Xander and Kai, between the only life she's known and a path no one else has ever dared to follow, between perfection and passion. So to my thoughts on this book, And after DNFing another dystopian, I needed to replace it and came across this one. I was surprised at how quickly I gravitated towards this book. The world building is fantastic. Literally everything you do is decided by the society, from your match, what you eat, the portion size of your food, when you eat, and so on. And the writing style was very easy to read, and the characters easy to fall in love with. I sincerely look forward to picking up book number 2, which I'll be reading in July. Now, I docked 0.5 stars as I felt that the book could have gone a tad further with its world building than it did, but in saying that, what was revealed was amazing. So a total of 4.5 stars. I didn't have any dystopians series on my SAS list this year, and I wanted to make sure that I did read at least 2 dystopian series by the time we get to the end of the year. This being one of them, this being book 1, it was the perfect start for me. So 4.5 stars, great start, and I'm looking forward to reading book number 2. The next book that I read in the month of June was this book, Death of a Bacon Heiress by Lee and Hollis. This is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book 5 stars, and it is book number 7 in the Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery series. How do I describe this book in one sentence or less? Bacon, ... everything one could want in a good book. So to the premise, why that was so hard to say, I don't know. So to the premise of this book, in this one we continue to follow Hayley Powell, who ends up scoring a last-minute appearance on a talk show with Rhonda Franklin. Think Rosie O'Donnell. I did. While preparing for the show, Hayley meets with Rhonda, and not too much later they're interrupted by Olivia Redman, an heiress to a bacon fortune, and her husband and pet pig Porkchop. When Hayley gets back home, Olivia asks her if she'd like some freelance work writing additional columns for her website about bacon. Hayley agrees, but the following day, Olivia winds up dead, and with Porkchop as the sole witness, Hayley sets about trying to determine who committed the murder. So to my thoughts, one of Lee and Hollis's best in my opinion. I've always loved Hayley Powell's column and loved it this time too. It was so evenly spaced out between sections of the book. I love that we worked with a bacon theme this time round also, and was salivating when reading the recipes. Rhonda reminded me heavily of Rosie O'Donnell, as I said, and boy did she make for a great addition to the story. I hope we get to see more of her in the future. A tough ending. Won't say why because of spoilers, but was tough to see. The review was okay, not bad, not amazing, but all in all, it was a really good book. So books 1, 2, and 3 in this Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery series I gave 5 stars to, and then book 4 got 3 stars, book 5 got 4 stars, book 6 got 3 stars, and this one, book 7, I'm probably way off. No, it is book 7. Woohoo! Book 7 got 5 stars. So I'm hoping that that journey will continue for me and that I'll continue to give 5 stars to these books in this series. A little bit of a downer for me. I exclusively listen to audiobooks, in case you don't know these days. I do still get the physical copy because they're just like a token for me, a nice little memory for me to have on my bookshelf. But the problem is the only place that I live in Australia, and the only place that I can access certain Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series audiobooks is on Scribd, and I just learnt about the Scribd throttle recently. In case those of you, there are some of you out there who don't know what the Scribd throttle is. It's a term that's been coined for those who have discovered that if you have a subscription to Scribd, the audiobook and more company, that once you listen to 2 or more books, they start restricting access to certain books for you. And unfortunately for me, they've been restricting or throttling, if you will, books for me earlier and earlier on into my billing cycle, and with me reading less and less books. And Scribd exclusively offer a certain amount of books in this series. So at the moment, I'm only going to be paying for Scribd just to listen to the Hayley Palfin Cocktail Mystery series, which is going to be really tough for me. I know that if you live in America, you may have other options, but in Australia, the only way we can access this on audiobook is through Scribd. So very disappointing. The good news is once I get up to book number 10 in this Hayley Palfin Cocktail series, I can exclusively switch back to Audible, and then I'm probably just going to get rid of my Scribd subscription because they've been annoying me for the past couple of months, I must say. If you've had any experience with the Scribd throttle, let me know about it in the comments below, because I hope I'm not alone in this. I hope that you haven't experienced it, but if you have, share your thoughts with me. I'm more than up for a discussion. But as for the book itself, Death of a Bacon Heiress, an overwhelming 5 stars from me. So the next book that I picked up was this book, Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. This is a YA contemporary, and I gave this book 4 stars. So the premise of this book is that Audrey can't leave her house. She can't even take off her dark glasses inside the house. Then her brother's friend Linus stumbles into her life. With his friendly orange slice smile and his funny notes, he starts to entice Audrey out again. Well, Starbucks is a start, and with the Linus at her side, Audrey feels like she can do the things she thought were too scary. Suddenly finding her way back to the real world seems achievable. So to my thoughts on this book, and I honestly don't know what to make of the book. One thing's for sure, however, this is a character-driven book, and I'm usually not a character-driven reader. Audrey is an interesting character to follow. All we know is that she has social anxiety because of an incident that happened at school. An incident I need to tell you that we never find out what it is, which was disappointing. But in saying that, the relationship between Audrey and Linus is adorable, and the way Linus manages to help Audrey when no one else seems able to is so adorable. It was, to put it simply, the book that was. Overall, I gave the book 4 stars. Take that rating with a grain of salt, though. As I say, I'm not a character-driven reader, so it is what it is. But I did still like it, and I think Sophie Kinsella, when it comes to my experience with Sophie Kinsella, reading her standalones, I enjoy them. The 2 that I've read so far. Reading the first book in the Shopaholic series was a whole nother story for me, but I read not so long ago I've Got Your Number, and I love that book. That's an adult contemporary, and this being a YA, I had no idea how I'd feel, and I still liked it. 4 stars worth, so 4 stars from me. The next book that I read was my one middle grade for the month, and that was this book, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. This is book number 5 in the Chronicles of Narnia series. It is a middle grade classic, and I gave this book 5 stars. Yes, I don't know if I've given any of the other books in the Chronicles of Narnia series 5 stars, but my goodness, did The Voyage of the Dawn Treader deserve the 5 stars it received. And in my Goodreads review, I have the headline for this book, quite possibly the best book in the entire series so far. So the premise of this book is that the Dawn Treader is the first ship Narnia has seen in centuries. King Caspian has built it for his voyage to find the 7 lords, good men whom his evil uncle Miraz banished when he usurped the throne. The journey takes Edmund, Lucy, and their cousin Eustace to the Eastern Islands beyond the Silver Sea towards Aslan's country at the end of the world. So to my thoughts, I have to say that this is my favourite of the whole series so far. It was so wondrous and whimsical. So many different things happened that showed the extent of C.S. Lewis's imagination. I loved seeing Prince Caspian again, and it was good to have Eustace there. And I really appreciated his character arc throughout the book. I grew to love Reepy Cheep, the mouse, as well. A truly fantastic book, and I cannot wait for book number 6. Look, this series is good. They're short, quick reads, and I appreciate that, but I've been waiting all this time for a book in this series to really stand out to me, aside from the one that's the most well known, which is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And this one, I think, is that for me. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is so whimsical and wondrous. If you're someone who loves whimsy and wonder, I highly recommend picking up this book because I think you will have an amazing time reading it. 5 stars from me. So the final book that I read for the month of June was this book, Helping Hand by Jay Northcote. This is the first book in the Housemates series. It is it's marketed as new adult, but I don't believe in new adult as an age rating, so I'm going to call it an adult. LGBTIQ+, male, extremely spicy romance, I guess. Okay, look. Okay, let me give you the premise and then I'll discuss what this book is as well as my thoughts. So the premise of this book, book 1 in this series, is that Jez Fielding and James Mackenzie, Big Mac to his mates, are in their second year at university. After partying too hard last year, they make a pact to rein themselves in. While their housemates are out drinking every weekend, Jez and Max stay in to save cash and focus on their studies. There's your premise. Sounds like a beautiful book, right? Well, I gave it 5 stars, and it does deserve the 5 stars, but here's what's not being said in that premise. They stay in to save cash and focus on their studies, and while they stay in to save cash and focus on their studies, things happen. And if I tell you it is extremely over-the-top spicy, I'm sure you can imagine what I mean. When I say that everyone else, all the other housemates, go out every Saturday night and they're left to their own devices to, how should we put this, entertain themselves. Okay, the reason I'm putting it that way is because this is, to me, this is a quintessential spicy book. When I picked up my first ever spicy read, it was not what I thought a spicy read was going to be. This is what I thought I was getting with the first spicy read that I read. This book is 95% spicy bedroom scenes. And then there's 5 more percent where we get a little more character growth, a little bit of a story, a little bit, it's there somewhere. But seriously, don't underestimate this book. It is a very, very short book. In fact, this book is 121 pages long. And as I say, 95% of that 121 pages is spicy. Very spicy to the umpteenth degree. In saying that, I loved it. So, I have to say, Jay Northcote made it work, and considering I picked up this book randomly, I was on Goodreads. I'll quickly explain to you. I was on Goodreads wanting to check something out to do with The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright, a book I've read before that's a horror, and when I typed in The Housemates in the search bar, this book came up. So, and then I found out, obviously, the link is that this is book 1 in the Housemates series by Jay Northcote. And I thought, you know what? Let's give it a go. When I found out it was a male, are they calling it a male romance on Goodreads? Yes, they are. I really shouldn't say how naive, but I wouldn't call this a male romance. It will go on my shelf in the male romance section, yes, but I wouldn't call it a male romance. I'd call it a male ways to entertain oneself when 2 men are alone in a home. I'm sure you get the gist. Okay, let me tell you my thoughts. Honestly, as I said, the book is 95% spice to the max, so know that going in. I thought I'd read a spicy book before, and while I have, this book is different in that only 5% of the book has non-spicy scenes, in saying that the book was a very easy, comfortable read that I just fell into, and time went by without my noticing. Jez is the protagonist, and we follow his perspective. This was a wise choice, though if Northcote wanted to write a longer book, because it is a novella, then a dual perspective would have been great too. The spicy scenes were great, and the non-spicy scenes really helped to grow the story. I picked the book up randomly, and now I want to read the entire series. An overwhelming 5 stars from me. So despite the fact that it's a spicy, over-the-top, 95% spicy book, as in 95% of the book is spicy and only 5% is non-spicy scenes, despite that, the book was very enticing. It was very easy to fall into, and it gave me the experience of, you know, when you read a book and you're so into what's going on that everything else just melts away and you're so zoned in that anything could happen and you wouldn't know because you're so focused in on the book. Jay Northcote is such an amazing writer that he had me in this kind of experience while reading this novella. So I definitely want to read more, and I have a rough plan to put the Housemate series on my 2024 SAS list. However, I don't think I can wait that long, and I think you'll be seeing book number 2 in this series popping up in a TBR of mine very, very soon. But that was the final book that I read in the month of June. So now we're going to quickly talk about what's going to happen from here on out, moving forward for the majority of the month of July. Okay, so aside from reading vlogs, which of course I'm still going to do my reading vlogs in the month of July, the rest of the month of July is going to be totally dominated by my favorites and non-favorite series for the first half of 2023. Looking back on all of the books that I read, including Helping Hand, the last book I read in the first half of 2023, all of the books in the first half of 2023, talking about all my favorites, my least favorites, favorite authors, favorite genres, favorite series, all the books I DNF'd, my worst books, my best books. We're also, of course, doing a bookshelf tour. Woohoo! Goals, reading goals, how am I going with them? Doing my annual goals, stay or go, which is always fun. I get the chance to veto some goals or maybe even add some extra ones. We'll see how things go. So lots of favorites and non-favorite stuff coming up to dominate the month of July. And to ensure that you don't miss a thing, hit that subscribe button and then hit the bell, ding, and make sure you click on all so that you get all the notifications when those videos do come out. If you have had a favorite and or non-favorite book that you read in the first half of the year, let me know all about it in the comments section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. Then you will go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, when our favorites and non-favorites for the first half of the year celebration begins, happy reading! Bye everyone!